Hello, so today we're going to be talking about how to use CrowdMap. So CrowdMap is essentially a host for Uzahidi. Uzahidi is an open interactive mapping platform that started in 2008 after some civil unrest in the fallout of a Kenyan election. There was violence against protesters, there was general unrest, and this nonprofit wanted to sort of make a map of what was happening so people could visualize the unrest that was going on. Flash forward a few years, they decided that they needed to make this more accessible to absolutely everybody. And to that end, they created CrowdMap. And we'll talk about the relationship between CrowdMap and Uzahidi in a minute. So if you go to crowdmap.com, once it loads, there we go. Odds are you won't be taken to that, you'll be taken to this. CrowdMap is working on monetizing. I believe that they're still going to have the Classic is still going to be free and usable for everybody, but they also want to have a money-making model to sustain themselves, and that's great. That's very important. But it's not up to snuff as far as we're concerned. It's not going to serve our purposes until it's finally in its fully realized phase. It's still in beta right now. So we're going to be using CrowdMap Classic. And the way that you get to that is you sign up for an account. Anyway, pretend that you signed up for an account. Eventually, it's going to it'll take you to here, and feel free to play around with this. We haven't played around with this much yet, but we know that it's not going to cut it for our own purposes. But if you want to be sort of a beta tester, then this is a great opportunity. But what you should do is go to your little portrait here and hit CrowdMap Classic. And you'll have to sign in again. As you can see, I've got some deployments. Just don't worry about what I've got right here. We're going to be making a new thing. Now, instead of saying new map or new space or whatever, they call it a deployment. And that's because what you're doing is you're creating an instance of Uzahidi, the software that powers this thing. They call it a deployment because it's like, deploying aid to a region, or you're deploying workers to something. It kind of fits in with the general theme about what they're trying to establish. But basically, all that you need to know is that when you hit new deployment, then it's going to create a subdomain here on crowdmap.com. Like if I called it MapLab, if I call my deployment MapLab, then it would create maplab.crowdmap.com and then install a unique Uzahidi platform onto that. This is unique. It's not related to CrowdMap. It's not related to anything else on CrowdMap. It is its own self-contained ecosystem that is using Uzahidi. If you've taken WordPress before and you've done the multiple installations, then you know that if you install WordPress on yoursite.com and then you install WordPress again on yoursite.com/WPLab, then these two instances of WordPress do not talk to each other at all. They don't know each other exist. They're completely independent. So when you hit new deployment, then it has nothing to do with any maps anywhere else on CrowdMap. So let's hit new deployment. We're going to call this MapLab 1, MapLab 001, because maybe in the future we'll have a MapLab, I don't know. Enter your details, map name, testing, map, CrowdMap. Pretend that you've read the terms and conditions. All right, so now it'll show up in your list of deployments. Where is it? MapLab. You can go to your admin dashboard. I'm going to stop this video right there, and so join me in part 2.